welcome everyone to today's Advisor Today webinar. My name is Suzanne Carowin. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Communications of NAIFA. And today we are joined with Skylar Adams from Allianz Life Insurance. And he's going to talk to us about a super exciting topic that I think just got a little more exciting as we were talking in pre-planning. And so we're going to talk live and talk about what is happening and what new work that they've got going on. So a couple of housekeeping items. This is being recorded. Feel free, I think we're gonna have a lot of conversation and chat, so feel free to either use the Q&A or the chat feature at the bottom of your Zoom browser. And then we're gonna save the questions to the end and we'll moderate them in the last couple of minutes there. But feel free to go ahead and put those out there during Skylar's presentation. And with that being said, Skylar, we're gonna pass it over to you and you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what you do at Allianz, and then just take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Are you able to hear me and see my screen right now?
Yep, everything looks great.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining me today. My name is Skylar Adams. I am the Director of Advanced Strategies and Planning Platforms at Allianz Life. I'm really excited to kind of share this presentation with you guys today. When we first really started talking about doing this presentation a few months back, we were planning on doing a presentation based off PowerPoint slides that we basically created a spreadsheet that pulled data from financial planning softwares to get us the outcomes so that we could quantitatively show the impact of what it looks like to diversify your drawdown strategies during retirement to find an optimal outcome for your clients. But what has happened over the last 4 or 5 months after we'd had our initial conversations is due to the feedback around this topic. When we talk about things such as taxes, obviously people's ears perk up. A couple of the financial planning softwares out there, particularly the first one to do it was eMoney. They took the concept behind what we were pulling from the financial planning softwares and this presentation, and they actually coded it right within their software. So what I'm going to go through today is basically the original presentation that we'd worked on almost all of 2022 and started presenting at the end of 22. And I'm going to basically go through that PowerPoint presentation with all the same data, but I'm going to do it in a live version using eMoney. Now, whether you guys use eMoney, MoneyGuide Pro, or Right Capital for in the financial planning space, we can do what I'm going to show in any of those financial planning softwares. But also, if you don't necessarily use financial planning software, that's okay. I still think you may find this valuable because our whole goal at Allianz is to show from a quantitative and empirical data side why or how our product fits into a comprehensive financial plan versus in the past when you often talked about annuities. It was almost like we talked about it completely separately from the rest of our clients' financial plan or their investable assets. My goal here today is to show what our product looks like built in the comprehensive financial plan and how it impacts the rest of the assets and the outcomes. Now, one of the concepts, the main concept that we're going to focus on today is going to be the idea around decumulation diversification. And where this came from was working with a few different associations over the past few years. The focus was really on how, as an insurance industry, or as Allianz as a carrier, can we provide value outside of just focusing on product? And that's where we came up with this concept around decumulation diversification, because we focus so much in the financial industry on that 20, 30, 40-year time frame prior to retirement to diversify our assets and build the largest nest egg possible for our clients so that they're comfortable as they go into their retirement time frame. But oftentimes what we forget about is the importance of diversifying that drawdown stream so that we can maximize things like our legacy, our ability to cover our expenses in retirement, spend what we want to spend in retirement, avoid Uncle Sam as much as possible. Obviously, most people out there don't enjoy paying taxes. So that's what we're going to focus on today. Again, I do want to reiterate, whether you use eMoney, MoneyGuide Pro, or Right Capital as part of your financial planning practice, we can do this in any of the softwares. I'm just going to demo it in eMoney today. And if you don't use financial planning software, that's completely okay. I still think that the data outputs that we're going to analyze along with this case study, you still may find interesting, and it may still resonate with something that you do on a day-to-day basis. So before we jump into the data outputs, I'm going to give you guys the background on the financial plan that we're going to focus on today. And the reason I'm going to give you the background on this financial plan is because we're going to continuously build off of it and adjust our drawdown strategies to find the most optimal outcome for our clients. So first and foremost, when we look at these two clients that we are going to use for this case study, they are currently both ages 58. They are retiring at age 65, and I'm actually going to go full screen here to make it a little bit easier for you guys. They're retiring at age 65. As we can see right now, they have about $1 million in their retirement nest egg. That $1 million at the age of 58 is currently allocated 60-40 between equities and traditional fixed income. When we look at the breakdown of that $1 million, they currently have about 800,000 of those, or 850,000 of their assets in qualified assets, with about 150,000 of their assets in non-qualified assets. And with that current 60-40 allocation overall for their investable assets, we're assuming about a 5.5% expected return with about a 12% standard deviation as we analyze the output of this financial plan. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump in really quickly to Goal Planner and dive into a couple other details within this case. And when we look at Goal Planner, here's our current scenario. We are anticipating that between now until retirement, our clients are looking to spend about $200,000 indexed at inflation. Right now we have inflation set at about 3%, which is a little bit higher than what we've averaged over the last 25 years. Definitely much lower than what we've seen over the last 18 to 24 months. But just to not necessarily find a happy medium, but go a little bit higher than what we've seen in the last 25 years, just because inflation is such a heavy topic today, we're going to stick with that 3% for this case study. And as I mentioned, we are making about $200,000 from now until retirement, so from age 58 to 65. In expenses, from now until retirement, our expenses are at about $160,000 from 58 to 65, and we're saving roughly $40,000 to our qualified assets over the next 7-8 years prior to retirement. And as I previously mentioned, we're anticipating to retire at age 65. Now, once we get to age 65 and into retirement, we are going to anticipate spending about $115,000 per year starting at age 65. And again, that's going to be indexed at inflation of 3% per year. We are also in this financial plan anticipating that our clients are going to live until, at least one of them is going to make it till age 94 from a longevity standpoint. Longevity is a hot topic right now just because we do see people living longer than we have over the past couple decades. Reason we picked age 94 as a plan or as a time frame for us to plan for these particular clients is because today, from an actuarial standpoint, if we look at a 58-year-old couple that is in this particular demographic, there's about a 70% chance that at least one of them will make it to age 94. So we just kind of look at that actuarial data and look at the demographics of the clients along with the geographic area that they live in, and that's where we look to anticipate the longevity numbers from an actuarial standpoint. I'm happy to help anybody with that if they have any questions about the life expectancy when they're building all financial plans, because that's a very important number for us to look at. Obviously, you can go higher if you'd like. A lot of people tend to plan to 100. You can go lower if you know that there's not very good history of health on your client side. But for this particular presentation today, we're just going to look at, what are the odds that at least one of them makes it to age 94, about 70%. So we're going to stick with planning to age 94. We're also anticipating that our clients are going to wait to turn on Social Security until about age 70 to maximize their Social Security distributions. And giving all those inputs into the financial plan, we can see that right now our clients currently have a 69% probability of success. Oh, one other thing I wanted to add was from a tax standpoint, we're assuming our federal marginal tax bracket along with a 6% state income tax rate. And given all those inputs, our clients currently have about a 69% probability of success. Now, there's 3 ways right off the bat that I could increase this probability of success. The first way would to decrease our clients' expected expenses. So if we're anticipating spending $115,000 per year, if I decrease that number, our probability of success will automatically go up. Another thing that I could do is increase our clients' working time frame. So if I change their retirement time frame from instead of age 65 up to 67, 68, so on and so forth, their probability of success is automatically going to go up. And the third way their probability of success is automatically going to go up is if I reduce their longevity or their life expectancy. So if they die anytime, if I change their number to anything below age 94, this probability of success is going to automatically go up. However, when we talk about spending less, working longer, and dying sooner with our clients, they're not very positive conversations to have. So what we need to figure out is, in order to get our clients comfortable as they enter their retirement timeframe, how do we become more efficient with our assets that we have today, along with the income that we're generating today? And then how do we become more efficient with the assets that we expect to attain in the future, along with the income that we expect to generate in the future? And we can do that by making a few tweaks while we're still in our accumulation phase or our working time frame, so from 58 to age 65, which will ultimately lead to how we are changing our drawdown strategy from 65 to, in this example, age 94, which will hopefully do things like offset inflation, or at least hedge against inflation, and also help us hedge against potential tax increases in the future. We're going to do that by implementing in a few of our examples a Roth conversion. And what that does is it'll take a portion of our assets. It will then allow us to take those assets tax-free in the future. And why we want to talk about that right now is because I think most people are aware with or are familiar with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017. Well, what we're anticipating is that that's going to sunset in 2026, which means most clients or all client standard deduction is most likely to be reduced to where it previously was, so cut by 50%. So between now and 2026, it might be a good idea to maybe look at potentially utilizing something like a Roth conversion and take advantage of that higher standard deduction prior to 2026, just because most people, I don't think, anticipate taxes going down in the future. Obviously, there is a chance that we don't see the Tax Cut and Jobs Act sunsetting in 2026, but I think most people would agree the likelihood of it sunsetting is much higher than the likelihood of it not sunsetting. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump into building off of this current situation and figuring out how do we help these clients get into a place where they're comfortable, not only at the age of 58, but as they continue to grow and get closer to retirement, so that once they get to retirement, we have solved for a lot of the unknowns, and our clients now can go into retirement with a much higher probability of success of funding their expenses than 69%. Because I think if your clients came to you and asked, what are the odds that I'm going to be able to fund retirement? You said a little less than 3 out of 4. Most of them would probably say, I think maybe I should either do something severely different, look for a different financial advisor. So what we need to do is get our clients into the best situation possible. Now, what we're going to focus on today, because this all stems from that presentation that I'd mentioned that was done using a spreadsheet, 4, 5, 6 months ago. It's now built into this decision center page. Unresponsive. Let's see here. There we go. I'm going to go into this taxes tab. And what we're going to analyze is what is our probability of success? How much are we spending from now until retirement when we solve for that 115,000 in expenses per year from now until from retirement till the time we anticipate passing away? And then what is the legacy left over in investable assets so that our beneficiaries can inherit? So right now, when we look at our base facts, which is our current situation, we can see that we have a 69% probability of success, which is what we mentioned earlier. From now until the time we pass away, we're anticipating about 1.4 million in taxes that we're going to pay to the government. And at the end of the financial plan, when our clients pass away at age 94, we're looking at about 850,000 left over in investable assets for our beneficiaries to inherit. Now, when we look at financial planning, a lot of people will focus on just this number right here, this legacy number. But what I feel like it's really important to do is, from a financial planning standpoint, is how do we not only create the largest legacy left over possible when we look at the investable assets within that our clients have, but also how do we reduce their taxes as much as possible? Because maybe a client focus is reducing their taxes as much as possible from now until the time they pass away. And other clients may be to leave the biggest possible legacy left over, but a lot of times what we'll see is they kind of work hand in hand. Then obviously with that, looking at increasing this probability of success as high as we can. So the very first thing that I want to show you guys is what happens if we look at this current financial plan and we look at the 850,000 that we have in qualified assets of our $1 million, and we say, what if we convert a portion of those assets from 58 to age 62, and we do about 60,000 per year from 58 to 62, so about 300,000 total. What happens to the overall probability of success, and how does that impact the total taxes paid along with the legacy assets left over at the end of the plan? And hopefully this loads up for us. I apologize that this is being a little bit slow. But while this is loading up, one thing I'll add in, the reason that we're doing this scheduled Roth conversion from 58 to 62 is so that we avoid the 2-year Medicare look back or the federal look back from 63 to 65. And we keep our AGI, our adjusted gross income, from 63 to 65 as low as possible, so that we pay the lowest Medicare premium possible. And give me one sec here. I'm just going to reload this page. I apologize that it is taking so long. Give me just one second. And I'm just going to click out of here and we will click right back into this. I apologize that my internet is being slow right now. Just one second, everybody. I apologize for the delay. Yeah, there we go. Network error. Oh boy. One second. I apologize. I'm going to try to reboot this. I don't know what's going on with their internet at the office. My apologies. Stick with me, everybody. I'm going to get this fixed in just a second. And we'll try this just one more time. And if it doesn't work, we will just pull up the presentation. That is okay. And we'll jump back into eMoney. Well, I apologize, everybody. I'm not sure what is going on with our internet at the home office. All right, and we're getting back into the plan. And hopefully we will be good to go moving forward here. Sorry, everybody. I apologize for the delay. See if this works one more time. And if it doesn't work, then we will pull up the presentation. I know this isn't ideal, but I apologize that our internet seems to be going in and out here at the office. So I appreciate everybody's patience. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna X out of this and we will just jump back into the presentation. We'll jump back right into the same spot because the data is all gonna be the same. I apologize that our internet is being slow, but I'm gonna open up this PowerPoint for us and we'll go right into the same spot. I apologize everybody for the delay here. I'm not sure why our internet's not working. Okay, here we go. Now you guys should see the same screen. And what we're going to do is we are going to just step back. So this case is a little bit different. Everything is essentially the exact same. There's a couple different minor assumptions that were put into this plan, but right now our probability of success for our current scenario is 59% versus the 69 we were looking at previously. Here, what we're going to look at now for our current scenario, one thing that we're going to focus on as we go through here is this guaranteed inflows number. This guaranteed inflows number is anything that is backed by the paying power of another entity. So in our current scenario, our guaranteed inflows throughout our retirement time frame, so 65 to 94, accumulates to about 3.9 million, meaning when we only have Social Security as our guaranteed inflows, that leaves our unfunded expenses of 3.6 million, which needs to be all funded by our investable assets. It leaves that 3.6 million susceptible to things like interest rate risk, equals of returns risk, political risk, so on and so forth. And right now, our guaranteed funding from Social Security is only going to cover about 52% of our overall expenses in retirement. In our current scenario, so this is what we'd previously touched on in the when we were trying to do a live presentation before our internet went out, was we are looking at 3 different life expectancies. So we have our planning age of 94, and we have our first year of a shortfall when we look at a below average sequence of return environment right here. Our first year of a shortfall, as we can see, happens at age 85. Now, if we have an average sequence of return scenario, we end our financial plan with about 1.2 million. However, if we just adjust the sequence of returns, you can see we anticipate having a shortfall at age 52 or of 52,000 at age 85. And by the time we get all the way out to age 94, which is what we're planning for, we have a shortfall of 821,000 to cover our expenses, with an average market return scenario of about 713,000 left over at the end of the financial plan. So you can see by just tweaking the two sequences of returns, we go from a surplus of 713,000 to a shortfall of 821,000. And as previously mentioned, out to age 94, we have a 59% probability of success in our current scenario, with a confidence age of age 83. And what does that mean? That means that's the last year that we have a 80% probability of success in funding our expenses. So what I'm going to do now is we'll jump to the next slide. And this is what we were looking at previously on the example when we were doing it live. So we're just going to kind of get caught up here. Our cumulative expenses from now until retirement, or from now until when we pass away at 94, is 9 million. Total taxes paid is 1.6 million. How do we reduce this cumulative expenses? Well, we reduce the total taxes paid. And how do we do that? We diversify our income stream. So now we're going to do that scheduled Roth conversion I'd mentioned from age 58 to age 62. And we do that to avoid the 2-year Medicare look back starting at 63 to 65. That's going to increase our expenses up front from age 58 to 62 by about 18,000 in our overall expenses. So right now we're looking at the trade-off between paying taxes sooner versus later. We do go from a 59% probability of success up to a 65% probability of success, which isn't enough to jump off the page and say, wow, we need to implement Roth conversions for every client, which isn't what we're saying, but it does get us into starts us moving in the right direction from 59 to 65. And then what we're going to look at is, what does this do to our guaranteed inflows? Well, it keeps our guaranteed inflows the same, because right now our guaranteed inflows are still only Social Security, but it reduces our unfunded expenses by about 600,000 versus where we started, because we're reducing the taxes that we have to pay throughout our RMD timeframe. And now, because we are reducing our overall expenses, this bumps our guaranteed funding from 52 up to 56. And when we look at the same graph that we previously looked at, and I'll try to explain this a little bit slower this time, what we're looking at here is 3 different life expectancies. The overall life expectancy of 78, which is what most people would anticipate the general life expectancy to be. In the first year, our clients have a shortfall in funding their expenses when we look at a below average sequence of return environment, which is in this example 87, up from 85 where we previously were. And then the planning age of age 94, which we talked about earlier, that we use that for our planning age based on the likelihood that at least one of them makes it to that age. So now we can see in an average market return scenario, which we're going to focus on the average market and the below average market, due to the fact that most retirees aren't as concerned about this above average market scenario. By just implementing this Roth conversion up front, 60,000 per year, 300,000 total, we've now increased the average market assets left over at the end of the plan from 713,000 up to 808,000. And in our below average market sequence of return scenario, we've reduced the potential shortfall from 820,000 down to 711,000. And as we continue to build off these cases, we're going to hopefully continue to bridge the gap between the average market and the below average market, expand this year that we have our first shortfall, and reduce these below average market potential shortfalls as much as possible. As previously mentioned in this lower right-hand corner, we have now gone from a 59% probability of success up to age 65, and our confidence age still stays at age 83, which is the last year that we had 80% probability of success or higher. However, what have we done by implementing that Roth conversion in the first couple of years of our financial plan from 58 to 62? Well, as mentioned previously, we've reduced our overall total taxes paid by paying roughly 18,000 in taxes more upfront per year from 58 to 65. So over that 5-year time frame, we're looking at roughly $100,000 in taxes more upfront, but it's going to save us overall $600,000 in taxes in the long run, when we look at the overall impact of the financial plan, reducing our cumulative total expenses from where previously was at 9 million, all the way down to 8.4 million. Now what we're going to do is we mentioned implementing different drawdown strategies or diversified income streams to our financial plan. Is we're going to move the Roth conversion concept to the side for right now, and we're going to focus on implementing an inflation hedge from our registered index-linked annuity. Now, we're going to keep this qualified, and as I mentioned, we're going to forget about, just for a second, doing a Roth conversion, and we're going to focus on, just for this portion of the case study, just implementing a inflation hedge or our registered index-linked annuity, and we're going to keep it qualified, and we're going to turn the income stream on at age 65. So if we put in 300,000 from our qualified assets today, our initial distribution, if we net roughly just under 4% from now until age 65, so over the next 7-8 years, our initial distribution is going to be $23,718. When we look at the payout percentage, once we get to age 65, we're going to get a distribution of 5.6%. Now, that initial distribution of 23,000 is going to grow on average of about 4% per year. Once we turn on those distributions, and it's going to increase for as long as our clients, at least one of them, are alive. When we look at what that does to the account value, because the fee of 1.95 comes out of the account value, once we turn on income, we are dropping from roughly a 4% return on the account value to just under a 2% return on the account value, with this 4% net number still increasing our distribution by that 4%. So this is called the Allianz Index Advantage Income. We have it in a fee-based option along with a commission-based option. It is designed to give our clients a flexibility during the accumulation phase along with the decumulation phase by using different protection strategies during the accumulation phase, and being able to pick between a flat distribution strategy that starts higher during retirement, or a lower starting point, which we've selected in this case study for our distribution, and a opportunity for that distribution to increase each and every year. So what does this look like within the financial planning software, and how does it impact the case study? Well, we started the year with no money in our annuity, or our registered index-linked annuity. We transferred 300,000 qualified to the annuity, as we can see in the upper right hand. During the accumulation phase, so prior to age 65, that grew at a net rate of about 4%. Once we turn on distributions, now we would have to adjust our allocation. Now our distributions are going to grow on average at about 4% per year. On our account value, we're netting out about 2%, and we can see that we draw this annuity down to zero. So we draw our account value down to zero at age between 79 and 80. Well, what happens between 79 and 80 is that's where our income and guarantees kick in. And now we're still continuing to get that distribution stream as long as one of our clients are alive, even though we have an account value of zero. So we put in 300,000, we roughly get 1.2 million out of the annuity. Now, one thing that's important to point out about this is, because we've left this annuity qualified, it is a good inflation hedge due to the increase, but it also is going to increase our taxes because we are paying an ordinary income tax on this distribution for as long as our clients are alive, due to the fact that we've kept this in a qualified account. However, what does just implementing that annuity do to the probability of success of our financial plan? Well, our expenses are going to stay the same because we're paying no taxes since we did a qualified transfer during our working time frame. And it's increased our probability of success to 74 from that 59 that we started at. And when we look at the guaranteed inflows that this has generated, is our guaranteed inflows have now gone from about 3.9 million up to 5.2 million. Our unfunded expenses that our investable assets have to solve for has now been reduced from the starting point of 3.6 million down to 2.3 million. And now when we look at combining this with our Social Security, we are now almost 70% guaranteed funded as we head into as we head into our retirement timeframe from guaranteed sources, such as things like annuities in conjunction with our Social Security. Now, when we look under the hood and analyze why did we jump from 59 to 74% probability of success, and how does the increase in our guaranteed funding also impact our legacy assets left over? Well, we've now pushed the shortfall all the way out to age 93 in the first year that we anticipate having a shortfall. In our average market scenario, at the age of 94, we've now increased from that 713,000 that we started with when we were just using our traditional 60/40 allocation, up to about 1.1 million. And if you remember, when we started, we had a shortfall of about 821,000. We've now reduced that potential shortfall all the way down to 276,000. So we still have some work to do to continue to reduce this number. But this number in the below average sequence of return environment, along with the average market return environment, when we talk about legacy assets left over at the end of the financial plan, we are still moving in the right direction, along with the fact that we started at 59 and now we are up to a 74% probability of success if one of our clients makes it to age 94. And now we've bumped up our confidence age where we have at least an 80% probability of success in funding our expenses from our starting age of 83 in our first case, now all the way up to age 88. Now, when we look at just implementing the RILA as a qualified option, a lot of people think of annuities as tax efficient assets. Well, the truth is annuities are only tax efficient assets if we're using them utilizing non-qualified dollars and we're staying in the deferred accumulation time frame. Because once we start taking money from that annuity, especially if it's still qualified, it still works just like any other qualified assets out there. We are going to continue to pay ordinary income taxes on that entire distribution. And even then distribution, once our account value reaches zero in the annuity, we're continuing to pay taxes on that entire distribution. So when we look at what does this do to our overall expenses, well, it's actually going to increase our total taxes paid by about 300,000 if we just use the RILA in and of itself and keep it qualified. So what we want to do is we want to obviously increase the legacy assets, but we want to reduce the overall taxes paid. So we're going to keep building off these cases so that we get our clients into the best position possible. Now, when we look at the two cases we previously looked at, the scheduled Roth conversion from 58 to 62, where we use a traditional scheduled Roth conversion of 60,000 per year, 300,000 total. We're going to implement that just like we did in that original case study or that original Roth conversion that we looked at. But now what we're also going to do is we are going to implement the qualified registered index linked annuity as well. So we're going to keep them separate. We're going to convert $60,000 per year in a traditional Roth conversion, but we're also going to purchase for $300,000 today our index advantage income, our registered index linked annuity. And we're going to keep that qualified and we're going to analyze what does it look like if we implement a tax diversified drawdown stream with the Roth conversion, along with an inflation hedge from a diversified drawdown stream from our registered index linked annuity. By doing so, we've now gone from a 59% probability of success from our starting point all the way up to an 80% probability of success, which obviously increasing our financial plan's outcome by 21% is moving us definitely in the right direction and going to put our clients' mind much more at ease as they enter that retirement time frame. And now when we look at our guaranteed inflows, they stayed the same as they previously had in the previous example, because we have done the transfer to the qualified registered index linked annuity, and we are using it in unison with Social Security. And we've now reduced our unfunded expenses down to below 2 million, where we started there above 3.6 million, because of the money we're going to save from still doing that traditional Roth conversion outside of the annuity. And now when we look at this guaranteed funding number, which I've talked to many advisors and I've had this conversation thousands of times, clients really like the probability of success number, but they also really, really, really like this guaranteed funding number because they like to know what can they spend each and every year, regardless of what that market does. And here now we know a paycheck's coming in to solve for about 73% of our clients' expenses once they reach retirement. And now when we look at the first year that we anticipate having a shortfall, if we use these two diversified income streams in unison, the tax diversified income stream along with the qualified distribution from the annuity that's going to increase during our distribution phase, we've now eliminated all potential shortfalls prior to age 94. When we look at now the assets left over at age 94, in an average sequence of return scenario, at the age of 94, we have about 1.3 million, which is almost 2 times higher than that 713,000 that we started with. When we look at the below average sequence of return scenario, where we previously had a potential shortfall of 821,000, well, now we have a surplus, even in a below average sequence of return environment, we have a surplus of 37,000. So what does that mean for our probability of success? As previously mentioned, now we are all the way up to an 80% probability of success. And now when we talk about putting our clients in the best position possible, obviously that's ideal. And that's what our goal is, working with the advisor and you guys, is to put the client in the best position possible. But also working at a carrier, Allianz wants to help put the advisor and their business in the best position possible. We know in this example, the annuity runs to zero roughly between 79 and 80. So these are all assets that you'd be managing outside of the annuity, and whether you do a commission-based or in this example, let's say a fee-based practice, if you're charging 1% on these potential outcomes of 1.3 million in an average market or 37,000 in a below average market, obviously that's much more ideal than charging 713,000 in an average market scenario at age 94 with the potential of running out of money at age 83 if we have a below average market. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the total cumulative expenses, and we can see that utilizing the traditional Roth conversion and the annuity in the same plan, but still keeping them separate, we've now reduced our total taxes by about 500,000 from our starting point. Cumulative overall total expenses, because we're not having to pay nearly as much as RMDs, we've now reduced our cumulative total expenses from 9.1 million where we started down to 7.7 million. And now when clients ask, why am I paying this commission? Why am I paying this fee? Regardless of how you are generating revenue for your business, well, I think when we talk about saving our clients 1.3 million in expenses throughout their retirement time frame, that is worth probably every penny that they are paying you guys. So just by being smart with our drawdown strategies, we can save our clients serious money in the long run. And now the last example that we're going to look at, and I apologize that this got derailed a little bit with our internet not working in the office, but hopefully we're still following. The last example that we're going to look at is we are going to look at implementing a Roth IRA scheduled conversion, just like we did in the previous examples. But what we're going to do is we're going to do that scheduled conversion within the registered index linked annuity. So we're going to purchase the registered index linked annuity today for $300,000. And instead of doing that $60,000 transfer for 5 years using other qualified assets outside of the annuity, now we're going to convert those assets within the annuity. So we're taking $300,000, purchasing the registered index linked annuity, doing roughly $60,000 per year conversion within that annuity from 58 to 62. Now when we turn on income at age 65, that entire distribution from the annuity is not only increasing, but now it's going to be tax-free for as long as one of our clients are alive. So this is just a breakdown of exactly what we're doing. We're purchasing the annuity with the rising income. We're transferring qualified assets to the annuity. Once we purchase the annuity, we're doing an in-force annuity conversion because we're converting the assets within the annuity rather than outside the annuity. And now once we get those distributions from the annuity, as I mentioned, it is completely tax-free. What does this do to our probability of success? It moves us from that starting standpoint of 59 that I previously mentioned, all the way up to age 87, which is an increase of about 28%, which is obviously significant. If clients are going to feel much better being at a 59% or at an 87% probability of success as they enter their retirement time frame than they will be at a 59% probability of success. When we look at what this does to our unfunded expenses from 65 to 94, we've now reduced our unfunded expenses, which were at our starting point, 3.6 million. We've now cut that by about 50% to just under 1.8 million, meaning now our investable assets are relied to fund 1.8 million versus that 3.6 million, which with that 3.6 million, as everybody knows, in order to cover those expenses, we need a lot of things to go right regarding the unknown risks of the market, interest rate risk, sequence of return risks, so on and so forth. Now our clients knows that during their retirement time frame, at $3 and $4 that they need to plan on spending is going to be covered by a paycheck coming in each and every month. When we look at combining Social Security with the registered index-linked annuity distribution that will increase with inflation, along with now in this example be completely tax-free. What does this do when we look at these numbers from a planning standpoint regarding our legacy assets? Well, when we look at the planning age of age 94, where we previously had a nest egg and our starting time frame of 713,000 left over, now we have over 1.5 million left over. And where we previously, from our starting standpoint, had a shortfall of 821,000 in investable assets to cover expenses in retirement, we ran out of money at age 83. Now, by utilizing this strategy and using two diversified drawdown strategies regarding an inflation hedge, and within that inflation hedge, utilizing a tax diversified income stream by doing the Roth conversion within the annuity, now we still have a surplus of 485,000, even if we have a below average sequence of return scenario during our retirement time frame. So now we went from having a shortfall in funding our expenses of 821,000, and instead of leaving a legacy behind to our beneficiaries, being dependent on our beneficiaries to help fund our retirement, to now, if our clients make stage 94, we have a below average sequence of return environment, we still have 485,000 that if we pass away at 94, we can move on to our beneficiaries, or if we live longer than age 94, we still have that 485,000 to help fund our expenses if we do have even more longevity on our side than anticipated. As mentioned in the bottom right-hand corner, we've now gone all the way up to an 87% probability of success. What the annuity looks like in this example is this is the qualified portion of our annuity. If we transfer 300,000 today, we would convert 60,000 in the first year to our Roth asset, or to the Roth portion of our annuity. We would see something very similar to this on our website. We're going to continue to convert that annuity prior to age 63 until we deplete it to zero. When we look at depleting all the qualified assets, what we're going to be then doing is filling up our Roth bucket. So you can see we're now filling up our Roth bucket. Our distribution, or the number that we are getting from a payout, stays the exact same as the previous two examples. Only difference is this distribution stream, along with that 887, once our account value goes to zero, is completely tax-free, which we're going to save a lot of taxes in the long run if we don't have to pay taxes on an increasing distribution stream on an account value that has gone to zero. When we look at our cumulative total expenses, now our total taxes paid are about 1.3 million, not as low as they previously were in the previous example. Reason being is we're only using 300,000 of our total assets here because we're doing the conversion within the annuity, versus in the previous example, we're using about 600,000 of our assets to generate these diversified income streams, doing the conversion outside of the annuity, and then purchasing the inflation hedge from the annuity with qualified assets. So what I want to show here is our current scenario, our scenario with the Roth conversion, our scenario with just the qualified registered index-linked annuity, our Roth conversion outside of the registered index-linked annuity, but still purchasing the registered index-linked annuity as an inflation hedge, and then using our Roth IRA RILA where we do the conversion within the annuity. We can see that how the numbers consistently get better as we continually build off our base case, and now our clients are in a position where they're comfortable as they head into their retirement time frame. And we've maximized the efficiency of not only the assets and income that we have today, but the assets and income that we anticipate having in the future. And here's just a comparison to the base case or the current scenario, showing what each dollar that we looked at previously from a quantitative perspective is compared to the original case study that we looked at. I know that that was a fast amount of time to go through all that information. I apologize that we had that internet disruption about 20 minutes into the live demo. Hopefully we didn't get too derailed because of that. We were able to jump into generally the same exact case study and the same exact concept. But I'm going to stop there, and I will stay on and answer any questions. And thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I apologize again for the delay for a little bit there when our internet went out here at the home office. But my name is Skylar Adams, and I will stay on now to answer any questions.
So Skylar, if you want to look at the Q&A and look at that, and you can, one of the questions is already answered. Can you see that as well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so maybe you want to take some of those that have come in while you were presenting.
How are you showing the guaranteed overall financial plan? Yep. So how are you showing the guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit and overall financial plan? Hopefully you saw that when I built it out. Unfortunately, when I had to switch to the presentation, we didn't get into some of those details regarding the steps as to how to build it out. I did show what it looks like within the financial plan when we, prior to showing the increase in the probability of success. But regardless of what the softwares that you're using, I can help you build out that guaranteed lifetime withdrawal benefit within the overall financial plan so that you can see exactly what that looks like and how it impacts the rest of your comprehensive financial plan. And then is the proposed retirement? Yes, that is an after-tax need. That's a great question. So the question is the $115,000 that we're solving for, was that a after-tax dollar value that our clients needed? And the answer is yes, that was an after-tax dollar that we were solving for. Also, I want to point out that when we look at the where we are paying the Roth dollars from, those Roth conversion dollars that we're paying the taxes for in those years from 58 to 62, those are coming from a bucket that we have set aside that is liquid. We are not paying that directly from our qualified account. So we get that question a lot. Hopefully that makes sense, but I'm going to stop there. I appreciate everybody sticking with me. I feel terrible that we had that internet outage about halfway through, but hopefully it still made sense. You found some value. I'm available if anybody ever has questions. Please feel free to reach out to me, and Suzanne, I will turn it back to you.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Skylar. Thanks, everybody. I have put Skylar's information in the overall chat, and we'll put it in the follow-up email as well. We'll have an evaluation on there, so would appreciate some feedback there. And I would also say that it is Annuity Awareness Month, so I'm glad that you were part of that, Skylar, and we appreciate our partnership with Allianz. Thanks, everybody, for joining, and we look forward to see you soon. Skylar, do you have one more thing? Look like you had one more comment.
Nope, that was it. Thank you,
okay.
everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.